My heart still pounds when I think back to that Tuesday. It started out like any other day. I was in third period chemistry, trying to balance an equation on the whiteboard, when the first announcement crackled over the intercom. Attention students and staff, we are initiating a lockdown. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. A collective gasp filled the room. Mr. Harrison, our teacher, didn't hesitate. He sprang into action, locking the door and yanking down the thick blackout blind over the window. He herded us all into the back corner of the lab, away from the door, his face a grim mask. "Everyone, stay quiet," he whispered, his voice tight. We huddled together on the cold linoleum floor. My friend Maya grabbed my hand, her palm slick with sweat. Outside, the world went silent. No birds, no distant traffic, just an eerie, heavy quiet that felt louder than any noise. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A text from my mom. "Are you okay? I saw the news." I quickly typed back, "Yes, in lockdown. Love you." Before Mr. Harrison reminded us to silence our phones completely, the minutes stretched into an eternity. Every creak of the building, every distant siren, sent a fresh wave of terror through me. We could hear muffled shouts from the hallway, but we couldn't make out the words. It was the not knowing that was the worst part. Then we heard it, footsteps, slow, deliberate, and getting closer. They stopped right outside our classroom door, my breath caught in my throat. Maya squeezed my hand so tight, I thought my bones would crack. A metallic rattling sound followed. Someone was trying the handle. The locked knob jiggled violently, a frantic, angry sound that echoed in the dead silent room. We all held our breath, our eyes wide with fear, staring at the door. Mr. Harrison stood between us and the entrance, holding a heavy fire extinguisher like a weapon. The rattling stopped as abruptly as it began. The footsteps moved on, fading down the hall. A collective, shaky sigh of relief rippled through our small group, but the tension didn't break. We stayed like that, crammed in the corner, for what felt like forever. After what must have been 2 hours, a new voice came over the intercom, a police officer this time, giving the all-clear, classroom by classroom. When they finally unlocked our door, the sight of the officers in full tactical gear was both terrifying and a massive relief. They escorted us out into the hallway, which was a chaotic scene of abandoned backpacks and scattered papers. We were led to the gymnasium where frantic parents were waiting. The moment I saw my mom's face, I burst into tears and ran into her arms. We later learned it was a former student who had made threats online. Thankfully, no one was physically harmed, but the emotional scars from that day are different. It changed how I saw school. That sense of safety was shattered. It's a reminder of how fragile normalcy can be, and how quickly your world can be turned upside down. Thanks for listening to my story. Stay safe out there, and remember to hug the people you care about. You know that feeling. It's been a long, exhausting day. All you want to do is collapse on the couch, put on your favorite show, and order some comfort food. No cooking, no cleaning, just pure bliss delivered right to your door. That was my plan last Tuesday. I was craving a giant, greasy pizza with all the toppings. I pulled up my go-to-delivery app, found my favorite local spot, and placed my order. The estimated delivery time was 45 minutes. Perfect. I settled in, started a new series, and waited. The 45-minute mark came and went. I checked the app. "Your driver is on the way," it said. Okay, a little late, no big deal. Traffic can be a nightmare. Another 20 minutes passed. Now I was getting hungry, like, really hungry. I checked the app again. The little car icon on the map hadn't moved an inch. It was just sitting there, a few blocks away from the restaurant. Strange. I decided to give it a few more minutes. Maybe the app was glitching. But then, a full hour and a half after I ordered, the car icon was still in the same spot. At this point, my hunger had turned into a mix of confusion and annoyance. I tried calling the driver through the app, but it went straight to voicemail. I called the restaurant, and they said the driver had picked up my pizza over an hour ago. So, where was my food? I opened the map again, zooming in on the driver's location. It looked like he was parked in a residential neighborhood. Was he lost? Did his car break down? My mind started racing through all the possibilities. I decided to use the app's messaging feature. "Hey, just checking in. Is everything okay with the delivery? No response. I sent another message 10 minutes later. Still nothing. Just radio silence. This is where it gets weird. I was about to give up and just make a sad sandwich when my phone buzzed. It was a notification from the delivery app. Your order has been delivered. Delivered. To where? It certainly wasn't at my front door. I checked my security camera footage. Nothing. No one had come to my porch. I looked at the app again, and there it was, a photo confirmation of the delivery. But it wasn't a picture of my front door, it was a picture of my pizza, sitting on a paper plate, on what looked like a coffee table inside someone's living room. And there was a TV in the background, with a show playing. My show, the same exact episode I was watching. My blood ran cold. How did they know what I was watching? Was this some kind of bizarre prank? Then I noticed something else in the photo. On the coffee table, next to the pizza, was a piece of mail. I zoomed in as much as I could, my heart pounding. I could just make out the name and address. It wasn't my address, it was an address a few streets over. But the name was mine. How on earth did they get a piece of my mail? I felt a genuine chill run down my spine. This went from a late delivery to something much creepier. I immediately contacted the app support, sending them the photo and explaining the situation. They were just as baffled as I was. They refunded my order and gave me a credit, apologizing profusely. They said they would launch a full investigation into the driver. I never found out what happened. Maybe the driver had the same name as me and got our deliveries mixed up in a spectacularly weird way. Maybe it was an elaborate, creepy coincidence. I've tried to rationalize it, but I still can't explain how they had my mail or how they knew what show I was watching. It was the strangest, most unsettling experience I've ever had with food delivery. So, the next time you order in, maybe keep an eye on that little car icon on the map. You never know where your dinner might end up. I ended up making that sad sandwich after all, and I don't think I'll be ordering pizza for a while. Let me know in the comments if you've ever had a creepy delivery experience. I'd love to hear your stories. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more strange tales. Stay safe out there. Have you ever had that feeling, deep in your gut, that something is just off? I'm not talking about a little nervousness. I mean that primal, ice in your veins feeling that screams danger. I had that feeling one rainy Tuesday night, and I'll never ignore it again. My car was in the shop, and I was leaving a late study session at the university library. It was pouring, one of those relentless downpours where the streetlights just create blurry halos in the dark. My only option was to call an Uber. After a few minutes, a notification popped up. Your driver, Elias, is arriving. A generic-looking sedan pulled up, the wipers struggling against the deluge. I hopped in the back, giving a quick hi, thanks for picking me up. The driver, a man who looked to be in his late 40s with a tired face, just grunted in response. The car smelled weird, like old potpourri mixed with something metallic and sweet. I figured it was just a strange air freshener and put my headphones in, eager to get home. But the silence in the car was heavy. I couldn't hear any music from his side, not even the radio. Just the rhythmic thumping of the wipers and the hum of the engine. A few minutes into the drive, I noticed we'd missed a turn. My apartment was in the opposite direction. I took my headphones out. "Hey, I think my place is the other way," I said, trying to sound casual. He didn't answer. He just kept his eyes glued to the road. "Excuse me," I said a bit louder, "you missed the turn." This time, he glanced at me in the rearview mirror. His eyes were dark and empty, and a chill went straight down my spine. He gave a slow, unsettling smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Don't worry," he said, his voice raspy. "We're taking the scenic route." My heart started hammering against my ribs. This wasn't right. I looked at the app on my phone. The blue dot representing our car was moving further and further away from my route, heading towards an industrial area on the edge of town I'd never been to before. Panic began to set in. The doors were locked. I subtly tried the handle, but it wouldn't budge. "Can you please just take me home?" My voice was trembling now. He chuckled, a low, guttural sound, almost there. Got a special stop to make. He kept looking at me in the mirror, his creepy smile widening. I noticed something then. Tucked into the seat pocket in front of me was a small, tattered leather-bound book. It looked like a journal. My hands were shaking, but I carefully pulled it out. The first page I opened had a list of names. My blood ran cold when I saw the name right before the last one, Sarah. That was the name of a student from my university who had gone missing a few weeks ago. Her picture had been all over campus, and below her name, written in fresh ink, was mine. My name, my address, and a terrifyingly simple note next to it, tonight. The car was slowing down, turning into a dark, deserted alley between two looming warehouses. This was it. I was going to be another name in his sick little book. Adrenaline kicked in, a raw, primal need to survive. I didn't think, I just acted. I grabbed my heavy textbook from my backpack, and with all the strength I could muster, I slammed it against the passenger side window. The glass didn't break on the first hit, but it spider-webbed. The driver yelled, shocked. He turned his head towards me, his face contorted in rage. That was my chance. I hit the window again, and again, screaming at the top of my lungs. Finally, it shattered, sending glass flying. The car was still rolling slowly. Without a second thought, I scrambled out of the broken window, scraping my arms and legs, and fell onto the wet, gritty asphalt. I didn't look back, I just ran. I ran faster than I've ever run in my life, my lungs burning, not daring to stop until the flashing lights of a police car ID flag down lit up the night. They found the car abandoned in the alley. They found the journal. And in the trunk, they found evidence linking him to Sarah and several other missing persons cases. They never caught him. Sometimes, when it's late and I see a car slow down, my heart stops. I check the back seat of every car I get into. I don't use ride-sharing apps anymore. That night taught me a horrifying lesson. Sometimes, the real monsters aren't in stories. They're driving among us, smiling in the rearview mirror, just waiting to take you on a scenic route. Stay safe out there. Thanks for listening.